Have you noticed that YouTube always selects the 3 most awful frames from your video to suggest as your thumbnail? Well, there's something really important we can learn from the frames that they suggest. I always tell my clients that they need to use custom thumbnails. It's 2021, and if you look through the top results for just about any searcher when you go to your homepage, you're going to see that almost every video has a custom thumbnail. So why even bother thinking about those 3 suggestions? They can provide you with a lot of information about what YouTube thinks is the best frame of your video for your thumbnail. And YouTube does provide in analytics a spot where you can determine how well your thumbnails and your titles are performing, and I'll be sure to provide that in this video too. When YouTube first started, those 3 suggestions might have been just random frames from your video, but now in 2021, there is the Google brain or the YouTube artificial intelligence that is looking at your video and choosing frames that it thinks are going to do well. And to you, those frames may make you look kind of dumb or awkward. However, YouTube knows what people click on, and people definitely click on big faces. However, they typically don't click on big faces that are smiling, but they click on big faces that are very emotional or mid-sentence. So if you think about this, if you see a picture of a person, that's it. You've seen the whole thing. You've seen them smiling. But if they're in the middle of saying something and it's very obvious that they're very animated and very passionate about what they're saying, and you're kind of frozen like this, then to you, that's like, oh, there's more curiosity. It's an open loop. You want to figure out what they're talking about and what they're so excited about. So YouTube typically is picking up frames that are like that suggest there's something more to learn by clicking on this video. Now, I do want to acknowledge that some of you have brands that you need to protect and make sure that you're staying on brand, but you can still learn from these images to see what will perform better and then find the spot that is the best mix between what will perform well on YouTube and what will work best for your brand. So what you're seeing on screen here is something that I just made to show you what frames YouTube is suggesting. And you can always upload a custom thumbnail if you've verified your account. There's a link down below to help you verify your account. So what I like to do when doing my custom thumbnails is to look at what YouTube is suggesting and then build a custom thumbnail based on one of those frames from the video. Now, it's best not to just do a screen capture, a frame grab from a video, but to actually have a higher quality image, something that your fingers aren't blurred and things like that. But I think if I were to compare having a really high quality image of just a smiling face versus a screen grab that's really enticing, I would choose the screen grab. So let me show you how I went through this process with one of my existing videos. And we're going to use this video here. This is one of my other channels, and there'll be a link to this video up in the corner if you want to check out my channel that's about life in Mexico. So you can see here that my face looks, I'm clearly mid-sentence. My hands are in the air. I do have it's clearly a custom thumbnail because I have text on it and I have something in the background. This thumbnail is performing really well, and I will show you how to determine if your thumbnails are performing or not. But the way I found this, I actually started out with a different thumbnail, and then I looked down here at what YouTube was suggesting, and you can see here that they all look kind of, funky, but I liked this one the best. So what I did was I took this, I threw this into a website called remove.bg to remove the background, and use this exact frame when I was building my thumbnail. Now, it's not something you can't download this frame from YouTube, but what you can do is look at those suggestions that YouTube has there, and then go back to your editing program and find that particular frame and use that frame, do an export of that frame, and then take it over into Photoshop or Canva or something to kind of punch it up a little, to add some text to it. Because what I found is videos with text on the thumbnail perform really well. Once again, faces, close up, mid sentence, and with a lot of emotion. and also with some clear imagery. So that's why I will take whatever YouTube is suggesting and remove the background and then put it on something that's a little more meaningful. Think of your thumbnail as the book cover. So in order for someone who's walking through Barnes and Noble back when we used to walk through bookstores and looking at all the books on the shelf, they would look at the cover of the book, and there are many books on any one given subject. And if you have a really poor, boring, poorly done book cover, people don't even pick up your book to look inside. But if you have something that's really captivating, then people will pick up the book and look inside. And that's what you're trying to do with your thumbnail on YouTube. Your thumbnail on YouTube, its one job is to get people to start watching your video. And it's a very important aspect of YouTube. So this was originally what I was planning on using for my thumbnail, but after YouTube made that suggestion, I changed it over to this. So you can see there's a lot more emotion on my face at this point. So let me show you how you can determine if your thumbnail is doing well, and also I can show you a tool that you can use to A/B test your thumbnails. Here we are in Creator Studio. I'm going to go to Analytics for this particular video. I am going to discharge changes because I don't want to mess with my video. It's performing well. So you can see here that this is doing really well, especially compared to my other videos. It's just one day in. And this might not seem like a big number, or it may seem like a big number to some of you, but the key is going to be what we're looking at here under Reach. And you can see that there's a 9.9% impression click-through rate. And if you look down here on the right, you'll see that number again. Looks like it's saying 10.1 down here. I'm not exactly sure the difference between these two numbers, but both of them are very good. So the average click-through rate on YouTube might be in the 4 to 6%. I've seen videos that are performing poorly that are only around 2%. And what that means is that for every time that YouTube is suggesting your video to someone, either on the homepage or in recommendations or in search or whatnot, only 2% of people are clicking on it. So if you can get that up closer to 10% just by changing out what's on the thumbnail, and I want to mention it does also, what's in the title is also important here, but the thumbnail is probably the most important aspect here. So the more you can raise this up, the more people start watching your video, and the more YouTube is happy with your content, and the more your channel can grow based on the fact that people who are being suggested your content are actually watching it. Now you can test this manually by, letting your video go for a little while and collect some data, and then switching out the thumbnail and then collecting some more data past that. And so maybe you've got a couple weeks before and a couple weeks after a certain point. You can compare those two and see if the click-through rate is different during those time periods. But there is a tool, TubeBuddy. This is a tool that I use, and it has the ability to A/B test your titles, your descriptions, your thumbnails, only if you buy the Legend license. So that's their top license. I want to say it's around $35 a month. That's not a license that I have. I have the next step down for my channel, but it is something out there if you're serious about growing on YouTube. And you need to have enough viewers on your channel to be able to collect the kind of data or the amount of data needed to actually A/B test. If you've only got people, maybe 20 or 30 people watching your video, you won't have a really good amount of data to see which one is working. But if you're up in maybe the hundreds or clearly the thousands, you should be able to collect enough data to see which is working better. If you know other folks who are on YouTube and wanting to grow their channels, I'd love it if you shared this video with them. Usually I work with professional coaches and therapists, and for those people, I'm usually making the thumbnail, but this is really great for anyone who wants to do YouTube on their own. I'll see you in the next video.